Welcome to The Exchange, a series of insightful conversations about community, culture, and corporate life. I'm joined by some of the top leaders at Wells Fargo. I'm Carmina Becerra, and I will be your host for today. I would love to welcome my esteemed guests, Manakia Masange, Ruben Morales, and Hector J. Conti. So before we get started, I would love for you all to introduce yourselves with your name and your role at Wells Fargo. We'll start with Manakia.
Sure. So my name is Manakia Musange, as you mentioned, and I am the Senior Vice President, Communications Strategist, and Change Management Business Consultant under the Diverse Segment Representations Inclusion Team.
All right, Ruben.
Great, thanks. Great to be with you here. Ruben Morales, I'm Senior Vice President for External Engagement, also with the Diverse Segments Representation and Inclusion Team.
Thank you. And Hector, welcome.
Hello, everyone. Hector Ponte. I'm the Region Bank President for South Florida. I office in Miami, and I've got branches from Key West all the way up to north of Fort Lauderdale.
So I will be your host for today, and I have had over 20 years experience in television and media training, and I'm a coach and public speaker. So the first question that I have for you all is, can you please describe how community involvement is part of business growth? We'll start with you, Hector.
Thank you. Community involvement is a big part of what we do. I mean, considering my role, I have branches throughout South Florida. They're in the community. And we help customers all day, every day in our branches. But we also have to show up in the community, whether it's participating on boards, volunteering our time, through our philanthropy, but also putting on our red Wells Fargo shirts and getting out there and helping feed the homeless, clean up the beaches, and showing the community that we're here for them beyond just our products and services that we take care of, in the branches and through all of our other departments. It is another way to demonstrate, our commitment to the places that we live and work in.
I must say, it feels so good to hear you say that. Like, I feel taken care of hearing you say that. So great. Ruben, can you let us know and describe how community involvement is part of business growth, please?
Sure. I think Hector was right on. And in the 21st century, for a highly regulated industry like financial services, and the changing demographics that we live in the U.S., we absolutely have to be involved in the community, not just philanthropically, but as a part of our business, a part of growing Wells Fargo, growing our business in the community means understanding a more diverse community. It means, as Hector mentioned, being in touch with community leaders, understanding what kinds of products and services make sense with the changing demographics across the country, with the diversity that we see from California to Florida, and from the Northeast to the Southwest. We've got to be involved, and I'm really proud of the way that Wells Fargo is approaching the effort, because we're looking at it in terms of how we can serve not only our employees and our customers, but the communities that we serve.
Thank you. Manakia, I'm going to switch it up a little bit. How are you able to serve your cultural community in your current role?
Well, my role is really around addressing unconscious bias, underprivileged or underserved populations, looking at ways for us to address, stereotypes and microaggressions. And so, as a communicator, addressing some of these things, I instantly translate that over into what I'm doing from a community perspective. For instance, I am a part of a parent board, and whenever we have a program that we're trying to execute upon, or if we're looking at a service for parents, I always have my diversity hat on. I'm always looking at how are we equitable with whatever we're offering our parents and that community that we're trying to serve. How are we looking at the ways parents function? There might be single parents. There might be parents who have two jobs. And so how do we address their needs from an equitable perspective? So I look at all of the things that I'm doing from my seat here at Wells, and I instantly transfer it over into what I'm doing in the community. It's just a natural thing now, but it's really benefited a lot of things from a community organization perspective.
And you were mentioning that you're fairly new to Wells Fargo. So have you seen anything that perhaps needs change?
No, you know what? I'm extremely impressed with what we're doing here at Wells, and I'm not just saying that because I work for Wells. The initiatives and all of the programs that we're standing up to really go out into the community and bridge any type of gaps there are in terms of inequities. I'm just extremely impressed with some of those things that we're producing. I think, in terms of our community outreach, we are really doing some amazing things. We are supporting, HBCUs, Hispanic institutions, organizations that focus on Indigenous. There are so many different things that we're doing in the community to help them thrive and help them to succeed, from financial literacy and so forth, that I am so honored to be working for an organization that has a sense of community and what the needs are. And I think the work that Ruben is doing in the community, some of the things that Hector mentioned, in terms of some of the outreach that we're doing, it really has benefited so many populations, and we're just adding on to it. So I don't see any gaps. I only see great things ahead.
So great. So Hector, would you mind answering how you're able to serve your cultural community in your current role?
It's a great question. I mean, as I said, I live and work in Miami, Florida. We are quite diverse. We don't have to think about it, and we've got multi-ethnic, multiracial, everything you can imagine, right around me. We go about our business making sure we've got branches and resources in all of our communities, and that we're staffing our locations to meet the needs of the community, and then our employees participating in community groups that again serve the needs of the community. So I think it's really about making sure we've got the distribution in the right places, the employee in the right places, and that we're engaged with the right partners in our community. We've been doing this for a long time, and doing so very successfully. And I see how we are intentional about making sure we're taking care of the needs of our very diverse community.
I want to say I agree with all of that. Wells Fargo, has had the largest corporate foundation in the country, doing so many great things. I think the one thing, though, that Charlie Sharp, our CEO, and Kleber Santos, now our leader for diverse segments, representation, and inclusion, we're driving, beyond all the good that we're doing in these communities, diverse communities, is really trying to drive for impact. And I think that's the challenge that we all have as as team members at Wells Fargo and in our industry is really driving so that we're delivering impact in the communities that we serve. And I'm proud that Wells Fargo is the number one bank helping Latino families purchase homes in the country, for example, and that we have the most number of branches in diverse communities across the country. But we're always looking to do more and to create impact and to be able to measure the impact that we're making. And I think that's the challenge, and it's an exciting challenge. I'm really glad to be a part of the team.
So you all have mentioned that the company is doing a lot already, but there's always more to do. So what do you consider financial institutions can do more of in the community? We'll stay with you, Ruben.
Well, I think one of the things is to look at the unbanked and underbanked throughout the country and figure out how can we provide services and products that make sense, that don't drive them to products and services that are really too expensive for them. So how can we do that? And we've started that effort, taking a look at it nationally. And I think it's going to be an industry-wide approach, but definitely Wells Fargo is going to have a very specific role to play in serving community members as well. Working with CDFIs, minority depository institutions, and others so that we get the needed capital to those communities and those diverse small businesses that really need it. So there's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot of work that's already being done. And again, I'm really proud of where Wells Fargo is in our journey at this point.
Thank you. Manakia, what do you think financial institutions can do more of?
So, Ruben, my answer. I think there is a lot of work in that space that he mentioned in terms of the unbanked and underbanked. I also think that there is an opportunity for us to reach out a little bit more to our millennials. They're a growing market and a growing population. And so finding ways to connect with them and communicate with them in a different way where they would want to bank with us. And then also with our Hispanic community. It's the fastest growing community. And we know that, the needs are growing for that population. And so working with the organizations within highly Latino and Hispanic communities, I think will benefit us to learn more about the needs that are on the ground and understand how we can better educate not just that community, but other communities that may need financial literacy and products and services that we're currently not serving them with now, currently.
Thank you. Hector, do you think that financial institutions should make community a higher priority?
I definitely think that community needs to be a priority. I don't know if higher. I guess that'll depend on what each financial institution is doing. I think at Wells Fargo, community is a big priority for us. From a philanthropic standpoint, as Ruben said, from a employee engagement standpoint, from a leader involvement standpoint, we probably have room to get even better. Across the many markets that we're in, I imagine that we're not maximizing what we could do in every one of our communities, and so that's probably an opportunity for us internally. But definitely, community is important. It's not. I don't think it's an either or. It's an and. We cannot be successful without our community involvement, engagement, and so it's definitely an imperative in order to grow as an organization.
Manakia, so how is your current role fulfilling your own passions?
So for me, as a woman of color, as someone who is Liberian, my dad is Liberian, West Africa, and my mom is from the South. I grew up really exposed to different cultures, perspectives, and it helped to shape who I am um, in terms of my career journey and what I wanted to do in life. And communications is what my background is, but I, for many years, have been in the space of diversity and inclusion. And so, what what drives me is the fact that there are a large population of people who don't have a platform to express who they are and um, what their goals are, what their desires are. I want to give a voice to those who don't necessarily, we don't always hear from, right? I want to be able to communicate the things that we're doing around, unconscious bias. I want to be able to communicate all of those things that we're doing for our customers and our employees, as well as our community members. And so my passion um, comes through my role and in community from my background, to be honest. Just because I experienced all types of things growing up. African ness wasn't necessarily always embraced. And with the name Manakia, I got interestingly teased by many. And so I made it a mission to um, make sure that I am providing some type of voice to those who feel like they don't have a space. Their names are different. Their background is different. They're not necessarily the norm. And so I don't know if that answers your question, but that is definitely what has driven me and why I'm very passionate.
Absolutely, it answered the question. And I just think of my parents, as I hear you speak, I picture them feeling hopeless as they're trying to get their life to begin here. And I'm sure there are a lot of people like that walk into these to Wells Fargo and they feel hopeless and they feel like they perhaps don't belong. And I can totally relate also with the name. My name's Carmina and I've been called so many different things. Carnitas, Carnelia, Carmenina. I'm like Carmina. They make
Right.
it a lot complicated. So I can totally relate. And I would love to hear, Hector, your perspective on those people that perhaps walk in and they're hopeless and they may be, just getting here. And I can already tell with your energy. By the way, I love seeing your photos in the back of your family and your wife. I love it so much. I can already tell that you welcome them and that you figure out a way for them. But I would love to hear a little bit more about that, those experiences that perhaps you've had with people that perhaps are new.
Yeah. I started with a bank 35 years ago as a part-time teller. It was just a job. I had no idea I was going to college and wasn't sure what I wanted to do next. And I fell in love with taking care of people. Um, I found at the bank an opportunity to really be, all of me. I mean, I would describe me as focus on faith, family, community, and work. And at the bank, I was able to do a lot of those things. We help people achieve their financial dreams, dreams that they had sometimes no idea that they could achieve. I remember working in one of our branches in one of the poorest neighborhoods in South Florida and help somebody be able to get their first credit card so that they could, buy Christmas presents for their children. I remember helping a customer get their first car loan so that they could own a car for the first time, to be able to go to work. That same customer, several years later, came back to me to get ready to buy her first home. And so was able to get, her first mortgage so that she could get a home for her children and herself. We do this all day, every day in our organization. We help people plan for their retirement. We help people send their children to college. We help people, fix their roof when they need to do that, or buy tires for their car, or plan a vacation. We make that happen in our branches. We also facilitate people that are doing their everyday, financial activities of, paying for their groceries and things like that. That's what we do. We help people just live and achieve their dreams. And I get to do that at work. And today, as a region bank president, I get the benefit of a large team. We've got over 1,300 employees in South Florida that I help do that for their customers across our 120 branches. It's awesome.
So beautiful. So beautiful. Ruben, so part of your role is representation and inclusion. So how does this fulfill your own personal passions?
Yeah, so I don't. I haven't spent my whole career in financial services. I've really been in politics, and government, and community activities. And my parents immigrated here from Mexico, so hijo de padres mexicanos. And for me, you talk about people that may be hopeless. For me, the Latino community is very hopeful. I mean, overall, a very optimistic community. But my passion has been around inclusion and trying to push, and growing up in a state, in a neighborhood, in a community that has changed over time, where we were absolutely the minority, unrepresented, to becoming the first Latino elected official in my community, and then pushing for inclusion and throughout my career, and now in terms of what I'm doing in financial services. I love the idea of being able to help include hardworking people, people that need help, people that are looking for an opportunity to build their credit, for example, to purchase a home, to be able to access financial services, and as Hector said, to really make a difference in their lives. So for me, that's been an inspiration, and it's really just, I pinch myself that I'm able to wake up every day and work in this industry and work with members of my community.
And with your last name being Barrales, I wonder how many people actually try to roll their R when they say your last name.
Yeah, not too many people try, actually, but but we're okay. We're okay.
Barrales.
Yeah, exactly. It's been pronounced many different ways.
I'm enjoying this conversation so much. So is there anything else that you would like to add, Monikia, to this conversation now that you've heard the other two answers? As far as community, as far as your own passions in the early stages of your career, did community, did inclusion, influence where you're at now?
Well, so when I actually, earlier in my career, I decided to step out and raise my family. So I stepped out of the workforce, and I was a stay-at-home mom for many years. And during that time, I also decided to work in the community and volunteer at different community organizations. I worked with an organization that helped moms become small business owners, giving them the tools and the information needed to grow a business, to an organization that helped African immigrants get access to Washington government officials, to local elections, working on local elections and helping our local district council women and men. And so throughout that time, I was able to really gain a lot of different skills throughout, in terms of my communication skills and project management and, leadership skills, networking skills, and things of that sort. And then I also was able to understand the need on the ground, and from a inclusion perspective and an equity perspective, understanding the need to speak to different audiences and communicate to them in a different way. Everyone receives messages differently. And so throughout that time, I was able to really gain a lot of different skills and bring it back into the workforce and be able to help inform how my career journey would how that would look from that point on when I came back in, and the self-confidence that was built as a result, and me raising my hand for stretch opportunities that I wouldn't have done otherwise. But yeah, I mean, I think all of that helped to create a passion in me because I saw so many different perspectives. I talked to so many different people. I saw so many different needs and addressed so many different needs. And so all of that has been tremendous and instrumental in my career journey. And I certainly believe that it has helped me along the way to make decisions, the right decisions, or, network with certain people, and act like a leader and an owner, if you will, and go for those opportunities that I probably wouldn't have done elsewise if I hadn't had that community lens and that community experience during that time.
I am currently trying to get pregnant, so it was very inspiring to hear you say that. How many kids do you have?
I have 3. Yeah, I have a 15-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 10-year-old. So prayers for me all.
Yes.
Indeed. Indeed.
You might want to loan one out or something, just, at that age as teenagers.
Listen, it's well worth it. Once you get past the child raising, then you get grandchildren. Okay, these are my 2 granddaughters. Okay, raising 3 kids is well worth waiting for 2 for grandbabies, because they are fantastic.
Oh, I will always remember that. I will remember. I'm trying my best to remember that.
I have 3 kids too, and they're the first and the third are 3 years apart. So we had them quickly, and we had our hands full for a long time, but it was wonderful.
Ruben, where is your family?
My family basically all stayed in the same neighborhood, and me and my immediate family is the one that finally left California, come to Washington, D.C. But I've got 2 great grown kids that are off and doing their own thing, which is great. I mean, it's really, I love seeing, especially we're talking about the community, young Latinos and Latinas, helping them succeed and become leaders in our society. I mean, to me, that's again what I love about what the kind of work that we're doing is we're enabling folks, especially in diverse communities, to be able to extend beyond kind of maybe if they came as immigrants or blue collar, as I did, and allowing the next generation to do even better. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, as first generation, and most of my friends and second generations and third generations, I mean, they are coming with some power and with empowered voices, and we know what we want, and so it's I think really important that you all are really committed to hearing us.
We really we need, again, kind of building on each other, what we can do to help the next generation and again succeed even more. I love the diversity of our country, and it's becoming more beautiful, and we want to just make sure that there's more inclusion so that diversity is really in those senior positions in industry, in government, in our society. And I think we're doing our part to try to help move that along where it should be.
Wow, I could I wish this conversation could last forever. Enjoying it so much. So grateful to have had you on here. Really grateful, Monikia, Hector, Ruben, for what you do for the community, for this country, and also really, really happy that you are so fulfilled in your roles as well with your own passions. Thank you so much for today, and I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.